Hello and welcome into the PHLY Phillies post-game show. I am Jamie Lynch. Renee Washington in with me as always. Tyler Zulli behind the scenes. We will be joined by John Foley from down at the stadium as the game just concluded. And Renee, this might come as a surprise to you, but the Phillies win. The Phillies win. The Phillies win again.
Woo! It never gets old to talk about. This is a lot of fun to be able to talk through the fact that the Phillies just continue winning. Another good day. Saw a lot of players that stepped up in some moments, and it's another Phillies win, most importantly. Happy Friday on that note.
Yeah, it's a really nice Friday where you come off a game we didn't talk about last night, that you almost stole when you didn't have your best performance. And then all of a sudden you look and the Nats, who are a young, pesky, kind of up-and-coming team, have a decent young core but aren't quite there yet or coming to town. And you go, oh, Zack Wheeler's on the mound? And that's kind of like the beauty of this rotation right now when Ranger is where he is and Christopher Sanchez has kind of steadied the ship in the 4 spot. And then and you have the luxury of Turnbull or Taiwan at the 5. You don't really have to sweat any days with this team. And then all of a sudden, it's Zack Wheeler and Aaron Nola day before you know it again, because Ranger is such a smoke bomb in the middle of this rotation that you go, oh, wait, Zack Wheeler's starting this series versus the Nationals at home? You just feel great about the Phillies and kind of how they stack up here with this starting rotation. It's incredible.
It really is. It really is. And I feel like there have been times we can look over the years as you watch the Phillies and there have been days where you're kind of cringing and nervous about who's starting. And that has not been the case. It's been for the Phillies for the most part, the times you see any sort of a dip is, it's Zach, it's Ranger, they're gonna be fine. It's not a moment of like, oh no, this guy who's gonna pitch today? Oh no, who's gonna lay an egg today? Nope. Every day feels like, oh great, it's Zach. Oh great, tomorrow it's Aaron. Oh great, it's Ranger. And it's
So
an
nice.
exciting, good problem to have because there are so many teams that wish they had a starting core like this. You look at the ERA, you look at the, consistency, even on their quote unquote bad days, how great the Phillies look. So nice to have another victory post-game show. And also I see in the chat, Jamie, we've got our friend K-Red, Chris Meister, who's checking in for the first time from Melbourne, Australia.
Welcome in, mate. I love Melbourne.
Welcome in from down under.
Yeah, I'm as Chris. I don't know if you know this about me, but I am a very affectionate. Unfortunately, this damn visa system. Watching from Melbourne. Melbourne, Renee. When I was traveling, you know how you always end up comparing the city to what you know. I went to Sydney and I was like, this is New York. You go to London, you're like, this is kind of New Yorkish or whatever. When I went to Melbourne, I went, all right, this is kind of the Philly of Australia. There was a kind of a familiar feeling with Melbourne. So welcome in, Chris. That's awesome.
Yeah, nice to have you here for the first time live with us from Melbourne, Australia. And the time difference is pretty. I can't remember what it is.
It's early in the morning there, right?
Yeah, is it 12
I was gonna say 6 or 7.
I don't know. I'm between 6 and 12. So let us know, Chris, what time it is. Basically, let's just ask Chris. What time is it in Melbourne right now? I know Greg MC is talking about Stott as the top 5 second baseman in the league, and extending Stott, Bowman, Suarez. These are great conversations that we have to have. I know we've been talking a lot about whose extension is next. Who else can you extend and make sure that you're keeping?
It's 11:02 a.m.
Wow, I love that. Well, good morning. Happy Saturday. Saturday. Yeah, because they're ahead of us.
Good morning. Yeah. And it is nice, Renee. We're almost spoiled this year with how good this team is and how many post-game shows we do. And I feel like maybe there's been one loss in there, barely. For the most part, we're pretty lucky. We get to talk about happy stuff. It's pretty great.
It is. And,
I would recommend this.
It's nice. It's very nice to have so many victory post games where we get a chance to happily talk about the team and look for very minor gripes and frustration points from the game. Also, we've got Tampa Eagle in the house who's joining us from Tampa, and Don Gregg as well. Listen, guys, let us know how you're feeling. It's another victory. It's another great performance from the Phillies. To have a 4-2 slower game, and it actually went by really fast in my opinion, though. I felt like this game
I
at the
thought it
beginning.
flew by.
Yeah, because I remember, obviously, as we were getting closer to our post-game show, I remember it was around the 5th inning, and I was like, it felt like it should be the 3rd. Like, it felt like we were just skipping along. But that's because Zack Wheeler wasn't giving up hits early. It took through the 5th inning for him to give up his 2nd hit on the night, not giving up hits. So it was a lot of 1, 2, 3 innings for Zack. And then also on the other side of, just the Phillies, although they weren't scoring as much, they scored enough, and they were doing a good enough job, with walks, 5 hits on the day. So it was a really weird game, but I feel like we're getting to the point now where it's become kind of, I hate to say this, you get used to this now. It's like, oh, another game, another win's coming. How will they win
I
today? Getting a little
I do
spoiled.
feel the sense of getting spoiled here. Yeah.
I do feel very spoiled. I do.
This is,
Even
like,
yesterday.
yeah, like, because yesterday you go 2 for 15 with runners in scoring position. You really shouldn't be in a
Mhm.
situation where you have that game as obtainable. And then, Bryson Stott comes up with a big hit. And, even in a loss, you feel like, all right, well, like, they weren't really in a position to win that game, but they got some timely hitting. They got some great bullpen work. Like, there was almost some positives to take away from the loss. And that's when you're spoiled, when a loss
Yeah.
doesn't really irritate you. And I go, damn, if JT's ball, if that second baseman is, a foot to the left in a different position, the Phillies win that game in 9. So
Mhm.
like, that's how good it is. It's pretty cool.
It is, and even a game like today, the only 2 runs, I should say, the 2 runs that the Nationals scored come off of 2 mistakes by the Phillies. You look at the play to Johan Rojas, overly aggressive on that play, trying to dive for it, and actually, when you looked at the replay again, he was very close, and I know Rob Thompson had mentioned how he's been trying to work with Johan Rojas, excuse me, around his aggression because he's got the speed, he's almost overrunning balls at times, and sometimes making plays that you can just simplify it. And that was a play that he might have been able to get with his legs and didn't need to dive. And then also Nick Castellanos had one where not sure if the ball got caught up in the lights or whatever, but he had a really funky play that led to the 2nd run for the Nationals. And even with those plays, I was never like upset or worried. It was kind of like, oh, well, we gave you runs. You didn't earn that. We're giving you runs essentially through the Phillies' mistakes versus it being a situation where you're holding your breath. So I do feel like I know Don in the chat is saying like the wins are becoming expected. You do expect this team is going to always find a way to bounce back, to grind out wins, and it starts from the top. Another game, Jamie, as we've continued to harp on, where the Phillies jump out with a really strong
Yeah.
first inning of scoring first. The Phillies have scored 71,
Wow.
71. One more
That's a
time,
lot.
71 runs in the first 2 innings of games this season. The next closest team in the majors has scored 59, and the league
Wow.
average is 43. They are nearly double the league average for runs in the first 2 innings. So for anybody that wants to talk about and complain about the team and who they're playing, this, that, and the third, it doesn't matter. They're jumping out from the start and they're getting up on opponents, and nobody else is even, pretty close to where the Phillies are in terms of how they are starting off their game. So, the little things that they're doing right consistently, like getting out to a hot start, attacking pitchers, and even making sure to anytime they give up a run, they answer back with one of their own. You give up the first run, you answer back. You give up the second one, you answer back. It's just been continuous of them not ever really taking their foot off the gas.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember when we started talking about that, like, it feels like the Phillies are getting out to a lot of like early jumps on teams, basically after that Cincinnati series and the fake Braves series that started the year. Like, you started going like, wait, they're really getting like an upper hand early on teams. And they
Mhm.
haven't taken their foot off the gas at all. I mean, like, there's so much to like about this team in terms of the obvious, like, clearly Ranger Suarez, Aaron Nola, Zack Wheeler at the start of a rotation. Any team in this league, for the most part, would kill to have. Then you see, Hoffman and Alvarado and Matt Strom and Orion.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, that's a really promising back end of a bullpen in the lineup, obviously. But like, they do the little things right. And they do a lot of little things wrong. I'm not going to say they're perfect. The base running
No.
mistakes you want to see cleaned up. Some of the stuff, but like for the most part, they give you really good at bats situationally. They keep their team alive. They get first inning runs. They do things where they capitalize on other teams' kind of slip ups and lack of momentum. And they just kind of have like a good, I don't know, a good vibe about them, a good mojo to them, whatever you want to call it, that they're really never out of a game. And they get a lot of little things to go their way. It's just all the signs of I want to say a great baseball team, because I'm this close to saying they're not good, they're great. Like they're 32-14. They have the best record in baseball. I mean, I want to say they're a great team, at least a great regular season team.
They are, and they're showing that day in and day out.
Great word.
They are great. They are great.
I know. I don't want to say it with my chest, but I want to say it with my chest, Renee.
Say it with your chest, baby. Listen, the next closest team, the only other team across Major League Baseball with more than 30 wins right now, as of this moment, the Yankees. Like, this is no fluke that the Phillies, who now win game number 32 on the season, of course, they are sitting comfortably a couple games and a half ahead of the Braves in the NL East. But overall, in Major League Baseball, the next closest team, the New York Yankees, as of now with a 30-15 record before their next game, of course. This team is finding ways to continue to win games. And you look at the play Kyle Schwarber had early on. Can't remember which inning it was, but early on, Kyle Schwarber goes up to bat. He hits a foul ball, a 425-foot foul ball. And that was a foul ball that, results in nothing. 111.2 miles per hour that play was. The very next ball thrown his way that's pitched to him, it's a 73.8 mile per hour, like weird floppy ball that went a total of 3 feet and resulted in an RBI as Edmundo Sosa scored. I mean, it's not always pretty with this team. And I think that is even something that's kind of the makings of a really great team, that it's not always a perfect game. You don't see them, every time they're at bat, it's great at bats and great contact and great pitching. No, they're getting hit by pitches. They're drawing walks. They're grinding out, innings and runs especially, and they're finding ways, and in a number of ways. And that's something, how many times have we talked about small ball, for instance? And you see them bunting. It's not just Garrett Stubbs bunting, guys. We saw Bryson Stott bunt tonight, which eventually resulted in another run scored. So they're also having that versatility, not only in the lineup, but in how they're playing, how they're scoring, how they're winning, which to me does make for a great team, because it's unpredictable. That's why Rangers so great. That's why this team is so great.
You're saying it a lot with a lot more ease than I am. I don't know if it's like scars of Philly past. Yeah, it's rolling off your tongue. I'm like, I don't know, for some reason still hesitant to say great, but I believe this is, potentially a great baseball team. Let's start with Zack Wheeler, and then we'll talk about, Brandon Marsh, who I thought had a pretty nice bounce back game, and some of the other guys tonight. But Zack Wheeler ends up going 7 1/3 innings. He gets 6 strikeouts, 17 swings and misses tonight, which is really encouraging. And when I go to the top pitch velocities of the night, they're all Phillies, and 2 of the top 5 hardest thrown balls on the evening by one Mr. Zack Wheeler at 97.8 and 97.5. So, we've talked about this rotation. They've all had their down kind of turns and nights where they haven't had their best stuff or command or whatever, and they still kind of grit and grind through these games and keep the Phillies in games. Well, it looks like Zack Wheeler kind of left that behind him a little bit tonight. The last 2, it looked like, I don't want to say laboring because that's a little too negative, but like didn't have his best nights, but still, kept the Phillies in games and performed. Tonight, it looked like he had a little bit of a bounce back coming home.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I'm actually okay with this. I know we've talked about the downs across, everybody but Ranger, knock on wood. Zach's had some games.
He's not human.
Aaron's had some games. Christopher's had some games. Everybody's had their games. Obviously, Taiwan working back and now getting injured, which we'll talk about. But I think it's okay, because the other side of this is when you're winning so many games, if you are always having those perfect, outings time after time, you don't have any adjustments to make. And that does lead you sometimes to complacency. So for Zach to have the Anaheim trip where he was like, nope, that extra day rest was not helpful for me. And then to have another outing, which, the last one was not great. it forces him to have to stay hungry, stay aggressive, keep making tweaks. And you saw today, it wasn't a perfect game for Zack Wheeler, but he did at least have, as the game progressed, his command was there, as you mentioned, the forcing fastball was there, and he came into today top 10 in ERA, top 10 in batting average against for opponents, number 4 in strikeouts. His numbers have been wavering a little bit, but it's okay because when you look at the fact that it's forcing him to have to stay locked in, you can't get complacent. And today, that's why I feel like you saw some 1-2-3 innings. He just had 10 pitches in the first inning. It was a 1-2-3. He kind of got in and out pretty fast. He did get to over 70 strikeouts on the year now. And it was just another day. I'm glad he got to go over 100. He got to get to 100 pitches, 65 strikes. It's nice to see because I wasn't sure if he was going to get, further into the 7th. So got to see him get stretched out a little bit, and also just to see him have somewhat of a more steady game, whereas the last few outings for Zack haven't been his best. But if that's Zack as we talked about, if that's Zack at a B or C level, we'll take that day in and day out. It could, it's still fantastic.
We are very, very spoiled. where our starting rotations, poor pitching efforts, they're winning like 70% of the time. I don't have the exact number, but it feels like all these games where these guys are grinding and don't have their best stuff, they still have a chance to win the game. And I just feel like a spoiled baseball fan right now. And God damn it, if we didn't deserve and earn this. I don't say it with like, hey, this is too good. No, we've been through hell and back. We're Andy Dufresne on the other side of the tunnel where we have great baseball again. And they come in small spurts in Philadelphia in terms of like time capsules. So enjoy this. Enjoy every night. It's awesome. Waking up and just feeling like the Phillies are going to win. And guess what? Tomorrow's Aaron Nola Day. So like versus the Nationals. So you're already on the doorstep of another series win. This could potentially be the 14th series that they've won or tied, I believe, in a row. So like they're just stacking them up and they're a wagon.
Yeah, I got to update my numbers on how many series it's been since those first two.
This could be 14.
Because with the Mets having technically two game series threw me off. But it is nice to be able to wake up and feel good. And you know who else?
But they tied that. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, you messed up my transition there. You know who else can make you wake up and feel good? That's our friends over at Olipop, the world's first functional soda with a classic soda taste and the benefits of plant-based fiber, prebiotics, and other botanical ingredients to support your gut health. Olipop is a new kind of soda with only 2 to 5 grams of sugar per can and 9 grams of fiber per can, because 2 out of every 3 Americans are dealing with digestive health issues. And with Olipop, they're working to tackle that problem. They're also working to make sure you're getting the amount of fiber and things that you need to intake to feel good every day. 95% of Americans admit they're not getting the amount of fiber that they should. So with Olipop, you get all the health benefits, but also the great taste. They have a number of flavors. I always say there's a flavor for everyone. Vintage cola, classic root beer, orange squeeze, classic grape, strawberry vanilla, cream soda, ginger ale, lemon lime, you name it, they've got it. And what makes it even better, it's convenient to find Olipop because they are sold online and in 30,000 retailers nationwide. You can use the code PHLY20 to get 20% off your next Olipop order. That discount does only apply to one-time orders, not to subscription orders. And Olipop sold online on Amazon, on drinkolipop.com, and in those 30,000 retailers nationwide, such as ShopRite, Wegman, Wawa, Target, GoPuff, Sprouts, where you can find Olipop. And to make it even better, as we're getting closer and closer to game time tomorrow, which is less than 24 hours away, we are going to be partnering with Olipop for our live in-person PHLY tailgate tomorrow night. And you guys get a chance to try Olipop yourselves. It's going to be a partnership with PHLY, Olipop, and Cavs Catering down at the Jetro lot. We'll be going to the game. So you guys also get a chance to taste Olipop yourself and try them out. And listen, Olipop, fantastic, delicious. And you can admit they are great. With that code PHLY20 again, get 20% off your next order at Olipop. Excited to see so many people tomorrow, Jamie, because we are getting closer and closer to our fun hangouts down at Citizens Bank Park, getting to watch the game, and of course, getting to hang before the game and tailgate at the Jetro lot.
Yeah, really looking forward to meeting some of the diehards and the PHLY nuts out there, and we appreciate it, every single one of you. And hopefully your allergies aren't like flaring up and giving you a hard time, Renee, because it's springtime and pollen sucks and allergies suck and everybody suffers from them. It feels like even worse than it was 20 years ago. So if you're suffering and you need some help, get over to Rite Aid because it's allergy season, of course, but they have more than that. They have everything you need, whether you're popping in for a kid's birthday party you're running late to and you need, a card and some tissue paper and a gift bag or even a gift or whatever. They have tons of vaccines too. If you and your family need to get up to date on your vaccines, most of them cost no money through your insurance at all. They have excellent pharmacists there who can help you talk about vaccines or your allergies or over-the-counter medication, tons of stuff. And Rite Aid pharmacists can vaccinate for COVID, shingles, pneumonia, tetanus, whooping cough, chickenpox, and plenty more. RSV is a highly contagious seasonal virus that infects the respiratory system. That sucks. If you have that, they can take care of you at Rite Aid. And talk to their pharmacists because they're great. And they will take care of you on whatever it is you need. Vaccine centers at every Rite Aid. Select Rite Aid stores have a dedicated pharmacist ready to administer vaccines and answer all your questions. Have questions on what immunizations you need? Not sure if you're up to date? Well, if you're feeling nervous to ask questions, a Rite Aid pharmacist will take the time to make personalized recommendations based on your health history and discuss any concerns. No questions asked or no question too small. Just walk in or schedule your appointment Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. State, age, and health restrictions may apply. Ask a Rite Aid pharmacist for details. Yes, and momentarily, John Foley is going to be hopping on with us. Rob Thompson just ended his presser a little bit ago, so I'm kind of living. Renee, you've done this elevator, walk yourself, but like what John is going through right now brings me back to like the days when I was in the ballpark a lot and going from the media room and taking the elevator back up to the press box and getting to your computer. And every time you do it, you feel like, oh my God, there's not enough time. And you really rush yourself. And then you're like waiting for the elevator and you're like, God damn, this elevator can't get here. And so I just put myself in John's shoes and I know exactly where he's going, where he's walking, getting back up to the press box there. And we'll have to ask John if he got any ice cream tonight from Frankie Two Scoops in the press box. But again, if you're just joining us, yeah, the Phillies over their last 30 games, Renee, and with how much baseball they've played, it does feel like they play most of the time 7 days a week. In their last 30 days, we did the show 30 days ago. The Phillies were not this. They're 24-6 over their last 30 games. And it's really incredible. Like they turned a corner and they turned a corner big time. This team, frankly, nobody really wants to play. And you can give me all the strength of schedule or whatever you want. The Braves are currently losing, by the way. We'll get into that in a little bit. But nobody wants to play this team right now. They're just loaded.
They really are. And it's great to see how well they continue to progress because it feels like every time we talk about an area of quote unquote concern, and I say that with air quotes for anybody on the podcast, it gets resolved or at least it gets better. They're tackling the small issues and they're continuing to make those tweaks. You can see where this team, they're not complacent. And I think exactly as you mentioned earlier, it comes from the years and years of heartache and frustration and letdowns and even just bad baseball at times that now they're not complacent. This is not the norm. It might feel like it for us at this point because we're in mid-May and we're so used to the Phillies winning. But for this team, they have bigger, aspirations. And so it's fun to see how much they continue to keep the right attitude, say the right things, and also do the right things. I think that's more important. Like you can politically correct us to death with all the right comments and stuff, but to see them going out there and regardless who's on the field, regardless who's playing, the energy's there, the execution is there, the plays are there. And for the pitching, I know Taryn Hatcher had the stats during the game, and it was talking about how different the pitching has been for this team this season compared to last season. After 45 games, for anybody that missed this stat, it was mind-boggling. 45 games in last year in 2023, the Phillies were sitting at 21-24 on the season. Let's just start there. The Phillies had 21 whole wins. You just mentioned they've had more than 21 wins in the last
24
30
and
days.
6 in the last 30. Yeah.
Correct. And at the start of 45 games in, they were 21, so under 500. And compared to this season, where they coming into today were 31-14. The runs scored per game were 4.3 last season compared to this season's 5.2. The run differential is one of the biggest stats that are different. Last season, at the 45 game mark, the Phillies were a minus 29 in run differential. This season, a plus 71. How about that for a turnaround? From minus 29 to plus 71. The team ERA was a 4.71 last year. It's a 3.17 this year. We're coming into tonight's game. This is, of course. And then the starter's
Renee,
ERA was
say that one more time. 3.17 ERA. That would
I
be
should have just
good.
said this graphic.
That would a 3.17 would be good for like most teams 1s and 2s. That is a staff ERA.
The team
like
ERA.
That jump,
and
that is unbelievable. That's team, not even starting rotation.
The starting rotation, it gets better. Hold on to your seats, guys.
Oh,
the starting rotation last season, a 4.98 ERA. This season, coming into tonight, a 2.63.
Oh my God.
And then the opponent's average at a 2.51 compared to this season, a 2.23. The ERA and the run differential jumped off the page. Even the record jumped off the page.
2.63?
A 2.63 coming into tonight. 45 games in.
That's
People
like you know how you know it's good?
ERA like that.
When you hear a stat like that, it's better than I even thought. You know what I mean? Like a 2.61 team ERA, that's absurd. So let's bring in John Foley. I believe he is ready and just joining us from Rob Thompson's presser down at Citizens Bank Park. Hello, John.
Hey, what's going on? Another day, another win, huh?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
We were talking about it, John. Like, I fully admit we are spoiled baseball fans right now because we've earned this. You know what I mean? Like, there's been enough bad baseball in our lifetime that we can't take this for granted. This is shaking up to be one of the more enjoyable Phillies summers ever.
Yeah, it really is. You talk about statistics. What statistic matters more than wins? And through 46 games, is this team, the 1976 team that went over 100 games, and the 1993 team that we all know and love. That's it in terms of the most wins through 46 with a 32-14 record. So it really is. It's going to be a great summer.
Yeah, and John, obviously you just had a chance to hear from Rob Thompson post-game. Curious to know the comments that Rob had because, one of the things that we talked about is the accountability has been there. Even with the wins, Rob continues to talk about the little tweaks and little changes and, of course, positively about the team as well. Can you give us an update on what you heard from Rob post-game?
Yeah, he was really happy with Zack Wheeler, obviously. They had used so many bullpen pitchers in last night's game that it was really critical for Zack to come out and do what he did tonight, give him so many innings. Even at 100 pitches, he came back out for another batter in the 8th, which was a little surprising. But now it gives a lot of these guys rests, and they're set up well. For the next night, these things tend to build upon each other. So he was definitely happy with Zack. He's happy with everybody. I mean, like, how can you not be? Other takeaways, he mentioned that Bryson Stott's bunt was his bunt single early in the game was Stott's decision. He commended his awareness and he saw just sort of how the defense was positioned and bunting being a lost art brings a tear to this old man's eye. I know some others, but otherwise it was just just business as usual. At the very end of the presser, I asked Rob if the team's even aware of the historic nature that you're like neck and neck with these best starts in Phillies history, and it's like, nope, absolutely not. They just they don't care about it. They come in every day. They focus on that day's game. that night's game, and that's all they worry about.
Yeah. So, John, was there any update on Taijuan Walker? Because last night after I heard him, he kind of said, it feels better than it did. X-ray was negative. And then Rob said it's all going to be about how he comes in today. It looked like it was going to be just a contusion. Do we have any update on Taijuan there?
No update on Taijuan today. You get the feeling there might be sort of, I don't want to speculate too much, but maybe they're thinking, you know what, Taijuan, the pitching is rolling right now. I'd say take a breather, make sure you're 100% okay before you. We're not going to rush back from this thing here. Let's get your toe right.
At least the toe is not broken, and he is making progress. It's good that the test came back negative. Offensively, though, I know it was mentioned in the chat by a couple of people regarding the offense, just kind of dragging a little bit. Obviously, the weather hasn't been great either, as we've now drifted back into some weird, rainy, cold weather. But was there any mention by Rob outside of Bryson Stott's bunt regarding just, what's offensively or anything else around hitting that's, he's talked about with the team?
Not so much. Nothing in particular. He's, as you would imagine, just very, very happy, very confident about everybody on the squad right now, as he should be. It's different players stepping up each night. We've talked about before the mark of a good team. So he didn't go out of his way to praise anyone in particular, but you can tell that he's a happy guy, and why shouldn't he be, right?
Yeah, and John, I gotta be honest. When I saw the news yesterday that I guess Trey Turner is doing a little more than expected at this point, kind of taking some soft grounders in the field, jogging in the outfield. He's out there and active. Did he come up tonight in the press conference before the game? Is there a quiet optimism within the stadium that maybe it's not going to take the full 6 weeks for Trey Turner to return?
I think that last part is exactly right, Jamie. I think there's quiet optimism. I mean, when you first heard that six weeks number, it was a little.
It sounded long.
It sounded long. It was a little shocking. So maybe they were trying to manage expectations there. As you said, he's been working out. We saw him before the game, running, looking pretty good out there. Now that's very different. Hamstrings are tricky. Sure. Going full speed is a lot different than doing some light work in the outfield. But he's out there. I think Destiny Lugardo put some video footage up on Twitter if folks are interested about
okay, great.
how he looked, which is just he looked pretty normal. I do not think he's going to be out 6 weeks. That's not anything official that I've heard, but it sure doesn't look that way.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to see that the news that Trey was able to take grounders, hit in the cage, did some agility drills Wednesday and Thursday. Today, more of a recovery day, but still got some work in the outfield with a trainer, and then did some one-knee fielding drills with Bobby Dickerson and Larry Boa. And to hear that it might not be 6 weeks is fantastic. But what also is even fantastic is we don't feel rushed. I mean, granted, we'd love to have Trey Turner back. Don't get me wrong. But you look at Edmundo Sosa, you look at how the Phillies have been continuing to play without Trey, and the level hasn't dropped off at all. And you can even see that excitement at Citizens Bank Park. John, you're down there at the ballpark. Talk us through a little bit of what was a sold-out crowd, bobblehead night with Bryson Stott, a good weather night. We got to see some sun peeking through. It felt like today had a little bit of everything for fans out at the ballpark, including, of course, another win, most importantly. What's the vibes? I always, I love asking about the vibes.
And once again, the vibes are immaculate. I mean, bobblehead day, everybody loves the Bryson Stott bobblehead days. I know that's my daughter's favorite player. She calls him Bryson Scott. She loves when the AOK hits and she starts rocking out. So it's a great time down here. I don't know if they might have sold out even without the bobblehead night, and even facing the Nationals, just because this is once again, just like during the last golden era, this is becoming the place to be. Just about every night. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, it really is. And, John, the Braves are currently losing right now. And we were talking about this with the rotation right now. The Ranger Suarez kind of smoke bomb in the middle of the rotation where he is your bridge to the back end. It almost makes it go by so quick. And then all of a sudden you get a weekend series with the Nationals and you're starting it out with Zack Wheeler and Aaron Nola. Now Christopher Sanchez is tomorrow and then Aaron Nola on Sunday. But either way, you're setting yourself up for another series win because the Phillies just continue to take game ones of series here. And they really are starting to just stack 14 series that they've won or tied in a row.
That's a lot of series.
That's a lot of series.
That's a lot of series. I haven't crunched all the numbers, but that feels like a lot. That feels like a lot of time to go without losing a series. And again, this is without Trey Turner. And Jamie, you mentioned the pitching staff. There used to be, you're thinking about going to a game and you would take a look at the probable pitchers and be like, all right, I'm gonna go here because Nola's starting. You don't gotta worry about that.
Thursday, we might get a good pitcher.
Right. So like the idea that you can show up on any given night and you've got a pitcher that you're excited about watching it's incredible. 2011 stuff.
It feels fake. Yeah.
It feels like is it too good to be true? No, we waited long for this. It's really happening. But another name that a name we haven't even talked about, guys, Alec Bohm. Alec Bohm's RBI double tonight was his 18th on the season. He did come into tonight hitting 385 with a 1.090 OPS with runners on base. He leads the league with those 18 doubles. Alec Bohm continues to be remarkable. And what makes it even sweeter, I saw this stat. I forget who put it out there on Twitter, but Alec Bohm in the first inning this season is 13 for 24, which is a 5.42 average, has 7 doubles, 2 home runs, and 15 RBIs in the first inning of games this season.
Shit.
Alec Bohm is like, I know we talk about him, I won't say it's quiet, but when you look at those numbers, that his first at bat, he's not only giving you good at bats, he's scoring. He's helping you score. He's a big reason why they had the highest amount of, first and second inning runs across the league. It's insane when you think about it.
It's amazing. And, I think, all of us here on this broadcast, everyone here in the chat, if you're that much of a Phillies fan, it's been an absolute delight to watch Alec Bohm develop defensively from, his eighth place game. I was here for that and the 3 errors, and to see the progress he made defensively, just putting in that work. And now to see him getting, his offensive stats up to a different level. I mean, leading the league in doubles, as you mentioned. His OPS was for a while hovering around, top 5 in baseball. This is a big bet in the middle of your lineup right now. And let's hope he keeps it up.
Yeah, that's like the second stat Renee's read to me tonight where I'm like, okay, I knew it was good, but like, damn.
Yeah.
And John, one of those guys, I wonder if he came up in the post-game press conference with Rob. I think Brandon Marsh had a great night, and it looked like, he kind of, after the really hot start, took a little bit of a dip there, started getting platooned again, which we all kind of hate. But tonight was a really nice night for Marsh. Did he come up at all in the post-game with Rob?
I didn't come up with Rob, but you're exactly right in that he looked like he was back to where he was maybe very early in the season, where he was putting up some fantastic numbers. I mean, he looks really comfortable at the plate right now. He looks relaxed. Stay loose and stay sexy, right, baby?
Yeah.
I think that's what he's doing. I think that's what the whole team is doing, and it's great to see Marsh. Everybody. There's not too many folks that you're worried about on the squad right now. And we talk about those first inning numbers for Bohm. I just wanted to add that those first inning numbers are good for everybody. I think there's the OPS is somewhere around 950 in the first inning. They're just straight jumping on teams from the get-go, and then you've got this collection of starters out there just shutting things down. I think it demoralizes some teams because you walk into Citizens Bank Park, all of a sudden you're down 2-0. The crowd's going crazy, and it's a recipe for winning.
It does feel like consistently, and I'd have to find the stat for this. We see them first or second inning, Then about like the 5th or 6th inning, there's a few more runs that are getting scored, and then usually late in the game, 9th inning, closing things out. The Phillies have consistently kind of like started strong and finished strong. And as you mentioned with Brandon Marsh, to have another day where he does really well, a walk, a double, an RBI double, and then also did get a chance to score off a wild pitch. It's been a lot of positives. And John, my last thing as we get ready to send you out of here, anything else that you wanted to add from sights and sounds at the ballpark, conversations with Rob pre and post that you noticed or that you feel like is worth sharing before we let you get going?
I would say one thing worth sharing is maybe just that you're starting to see the shift from giddy, excited optimism. How are we doing this kind of thing? Like, can we keep this up? To just sort of today was one of the first days that sort of felt, especially in that post game presser, sort of, yeah, Nationals came in. Of course, we won again. We expect to win, every day, every night. Even last night's game, which ended up a little bit of a bummer, you could see just a difference in, there were however many lead changes. They kept battling back. That game could have easily gone either way. They're fighting and clawing for every win. They're not taking anything for granted, and it just really feels like true professionalism right now out of the team. And this isn't a 2022 magical ride. We got 87 wins and let's get hot and hit some home runs. The pitching's great, the rotation's great, the bullpen's great, the lineup's great. And some folks in chat might disagree, but I think the manager is much better than most. And I think all they got to do is keep it going.
Is Rob getting some heat in the chat tonight? I'm not looking. What could he be getting heat for?
Maybe not in the chat.
He's kind of polarizing. I know what you mean. Like, some people don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt. And now if you look at going on almost 2 full years of managerial, like, I saw it was before today's game. If you took the last 162 games the Phillies had played, they were like 104 and whatever, 58. So like, Rob Thompson's a part of that, whether you like him or not.
Yeah, he sure is. And it's just, it's like it's a citywide pastime to criticize the manager's decisions and the lineups. But look, every time everybody hates the lineups, they go out and they score. Like, he's a guy who knows what he's doing here, and not just, I don't want to pick on this chat in particular. I'm not sure if there's much Rob criticism there, but on Twitter every night, these conversations about, look at you're sitting so and so again today. Well, the reasons for that, sometimes we all love Brandon Marsh, but his numbers against lefties and certain types of lefties in particular are troubling. So that might be a time to get some of these right-handed bats in play. So, at a certain point, they're winning so much. I think you gotta have some faith in the guy.
Absolutely. So John, here's your chance at a hot take on the way out the door.
Ooh.
Do the Phillies take this weekend series?
I don't know how much of a hot take it is to say absolutely.
No.
Nationals. I know the Nationals aren't having a bad season. They're hovering around 500.
Oh.
But this Phillies team is a juggernaut right now, and there's no way I'm picking against them. Not a chance. Right. They're going to keep it going.
Love it. Make sure you're following John on Twitter at 2008 Phils and checking out his writing, as well as Jim Salisbury's writing. Did you run into Jimmy Stakes tonight? Did you guys have a nice warm PHLY embrace in the press box?
Unfortunately, not. No, I didn't see Jimmy around. I didn't see Jimmy around today, but we have developed a special handshake, and I'm hoping we can let that loose tomorrow.
Love it.
A special handshake with Jimmy Stakes.
Well, make sure you're checking out all their writing on allphly.com. John, keep up the great work, and we'll talk to you in the very near future and possibly even see you in the very near future. So looking forward to it.
Sounds great. Take care, all.
All right, see you, John. Let's take care of some business, Renee, and then we'll throw a nice bow on tonight's game. Maybe look around the MLB standings real quick and call it a Friday night, shall we?
Yeah. Listen, whenever it's game time, you want to make sure you're prepared with the best deals, great prices, and you can take advantage of all the deals over at the Game Time app. Now, as we are well into the Major League Baseball season, take advantage of being able to buy some great tickets so you can get out to the ballpark. The line today at Citizens Bank Park was insane with how many people were waiting to get into Citizens Bank Park for tonight's game. So if you want to be in that line and you want to get down to South Philly to be able to enjoy the game, head on over to the Game Time app. They always have great prices for you, low price guaranteed, but also allow you to be able to see those last minute ticket deals. I love the fact that the Game Time app gives me updates. They send me emails. They give me alerts as tickets drop in the area of any sort of games, concerts, events, comedy shows, anything that's going on, sports and entertainment wise in your area. You can use the Game Time app to be able to browse through and find those great tickets. And they allow you to see where your seats are going to be located. Because we know once you leave the comforts of your house, you don't want to go somewhere else where you can't see the stage. There's nothing worse than being at a game where you can't see the court, or a concert where you can't really see the stage and there's a pillar in your way or something. With the Game Time app, you don't have to worry about that. They provide you with a view of your seat. You can see how close you are, how far you are, where you're going to be located, where you're going to be cheering from, where you can be expecting to try to maybe catch a foul ball or a home run. You get all the perks with that at the Game Time app. So again, take advantage of the Game Time app. They've got last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. And again, lowest price guaranteed, as well as some event cancellation protection and some other great protections for you. So take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use that code PHLY that's on your screen in the bottom corner for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem, and use that code PHLY, get $20 off. And download the Game Time app today for those last minute tickets and lowest price guaranteed.
Shout out Lisa. Just use the Game Time app to get tickets to see the Phils Orioles down in Camden Yards. That's great work by you, Lisa. I'm actually away that weekend.
Code PHLY to get that $20 off as well, Lisa.
I hope so. But that is a series. I know Tyler's going with his dad. That's probably the bucket list trip of the year. So I'm jealous of everybody that can make that one. We're going to get to some of your comments in a second. But before we do that, I got to tell you about my friends at Miller Lite, because I was out on the golf course today with some really good friends. And we were talking Phillies, naturally, because that's what you do when the Phillies are good. But we were out on the course, and the Miller Lights, they were being had, because Miller Lite is the original light beer since 1975. And to this day, it's still the best one. And I like it when I'm playing golf or at a ball game because it's less filling. You're not going to get all bloated and full. And, when you drink some of those high octane beers, you feel like kind of crap. With Miller Lite, it's cold, refreshing, and less filling. So you're not going to wear it on you all night. You can have Miller Lights and feel like, hey, I'm a normal human here. I don't feel terrible. So Miller Lite since 1975, it's simple. They're the original light beer. They're the best one. They taste like a beer should taste, and it's that simple. They hold on to what matters most, and they got rid of everything else. 96 calories as we approach summer and spring and slim down season. So it's less filling. It's great. And they keep it simple. It's the beer that strips away everything you don't need and holds on to what matters most. The original light beer since 1975, and you don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered directly to your door, just go to MillerLite.com/PHLYPhils, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than a premium regular beer. All right, before we do a little bit of the roundup on the show, I do want to get to some of these comments in the chat because I just tapped in, and boy, oh boy, I love you people. What was MBD? Julian is, I guess,
oh boy,
getting the a lot of the conversation going here with Castellanos hate. Look, Castellanos is struggling. He wants to play every night. The team has basically said they're going to give him that leeway to play himself out of it. I don't know how much you can roast Rob for that. There isn't like a clear backup to play in right field. Like Pache isn't really a right fielder. Merrifield isn't really a right fielder. You don't really have a backup right fielder. So like I kind of hear the Phillies' point of view on that one of just like, well, I guess we'll let them play out of it. We don't really have another alternative here. So that's what it is with Nick Castellanos. I mean, it's not great, Renee, but like, what are you going to do?
I mean, at the end of the day, Nick Castellanos, when you just look at his recent games, first of all, he's got 17 RBIs on the season. He's got 4 home runs. He's batting at a 199 average and a 568 OPS. That's not including tonight's game, though. It hasn't updated yet on this site that I just accidentally pulled up the wrong site. But today he had that one play that led to the second run that the Nationals scored. Obviously, that was a play that you wish you could get back. But it happened. In his 2 at bats today, he didn't give you anything, didn't even draw a walk. He was zeros across the board. But prior to tonight, looking at previous games, he has been, I would say, throughout the month of May, 12 hits, 3 doubles. He's got 2 home runs, 8 RBIs in May, 5 walks. And he was hit by a pitcher tonight, which we did see that happen. He did get hit by a pitch tonight.
Nicked his elbow,
so he's been hit by a pitch now twice in the month of May. And that's better than what he was doing in April. That's better than what he was doing, prior. So it's progress.
It's better than the worst.
If that's the bottom, if that's the struggle of the team, you'll take it. Because when you look at the numbers elsewhere, that Brandon Marsh, Alec Boehm, Kyle Schwarber, Bryson Stott, even now. Let's talk about that side of it. We've got Bryson Stott. Bobblehead night was right on cue because he's bobbling along. He's moving now. He went from kind of being one of those struggle pieces of the batting lineup to now, to now in the last, week or so, you could say he's really turning around. And I would honestly even take it a step further as you're bobbling along over there, Jamie, naturally, that having that injured, battered lineup allowed it, kind of made Bryson Stott step up. It allowed Alec Boehm to be the leader because it was a time where you didn't have Bryce Harper, who was out with a migraine. You didn't have JT, who's out with knee pain, and Kyle's out with back soreness. And it was like, who's next? Who's going to be the guy? And Bryson Stott really took ownership of stepping up. And the last week, especially, he's been fantastic. So although Nick Castellanos is still not great, he's doing enough. Him and Yoro that's your bottom guys. On other teams, I hate to compare to others because that's not where the bar is. We're going higher than that. But other teams would love to have the problems of a struggling Nick or, some fielding issues from Yoro like we saw again today.
Well, the problem with that is the other teams wouldn't want the $20 million problem. And that's where, look, I understand it is what it is in Philadelphia. And I think any passionate sports city, when somebody struggles, the automatic conversation goes to how much money you make. I view that as not my problem because I don't cut Nick Castellanos checks. I have a higher expectation. Don't get me wrong. I think and want Nick Castellanos to be better and do better. But it is what it is. One of the comments here, Jackie Moon, I agree with you. I would love to trade Nick Castellanos and cash for Tyler O'Neill, but that's not reality, most likely. One of the other comments that made me laugh here, MBDF.
Oh, baby.
MBDBF. MBDBF.
Gotta roll up the tongue. MBDBF.
Yeah, you do it really well. I don't. I hate to be the cold water guy, he says, but before we start throwing around words like juggernaut, I would like the fielding percentage to be above 20th in baseball. Look, you've heard me bitch about the defense the past couple days. I agree with them there. I don't think it's something that's going to prevent the Phillies from being a really good regular season team. That's something you need to see get better before you get to the postseason. Because if Johan Rojas has, a pop, a pop up that he should catch and drops it like he did, was that last night or 2 nights ago now? Whatever it was, those things. Yeah, those things kill you in the playoffs. You can overcome that in May in a 5-game series in the playoffs. You might not be able to. So I'm totally with you. That stuff needs to get shored up. The defense has not been as good as expected. Johan continues to put my brain in a pretzel. Does he not understand his own speed, Renee? Like it seems like he doesn't trust himself to get there, and then he gets there and he's like, oh shit, do I dive? Do I just catch this? And he's thinking like he needs to trust his speed is my point.
I think so. Oh, I'm having deja vu. But I think part of this issue is when you look at how well the top of the team is doing, it obviously is even more polarizing on the fact that someone like Nick Castellanos, Yoro, Whit Merrifield, I know Julian brought up in the chat as being a huge downer. It makes it more obvious how much they're struggling. They are struggling. And listen, I agree. But I think that's the key to this team is they're not perfect. You can't say everybody's playing perfect baseball right now. Pitching has had some of the drop-offs. We've seen whether it was Sir Anthony or Gregory Soto or even when Zack Wheeler had a bad game. And definitely on the hitting side, we've seen issues. We've definitely seen fielding issues. There are areas that they can fix. There are areas that they are struggling. But when you look at the fact that those areas are getting smaller and smaller. One of the areas we had talked about was bunting, for instance, and overly aggressive base running. And yes, they're still being very aggressive with their base running, but it hasn't been nearly as bad as there was a stretch there where it felt like they were getting 2-3 really boneheaded plays of just completely, going when it didn't make sense. But I do think for Yoro, when it comes to his speed, he is young. I mean, we're talking about him for the first season being an everyday center fielder at the major league level. It's not going to happen overnight. His at-bats have actually progressed much faster than his center field play, which is not what we expected. He went from being a gold glove caliber center fielder, elite center fielder, to having some really just young mistakes. But I compare it to someone like Tyrese Maxey, who just needed time to get the confidence, to combine with the talent, to combine with the speed. And we've seen him settle down on the basketball court. Totally different sport, I get it. But when you're young and fast and aggressive and talented, it takes time for that all to come together, especially with the confidence of knowing he didn't give a good at-bats at first. So it took time for him to settle in. And I think we're finally going to start seeing that. Look, we saw him pregame, eye patch on, doing his own little brain training to try to work on his focus. We've never seen that before, trying to train his brain to do a better job of tracking balls and reading where they're going and just doing the little things. So while it's very frustrating every once in a while when you see a play like tonight where the ball just misses the glove and he didn't have to dive for it, these are young mistakes that if we're talking about them in May, I don't mind it. You make it now, and hopefully, I know Rob mentioned how much he's been talking. He talked about, working with Johan to pick and choose the spots of when to be aggressive and when to just keep it simple. This should be something we're no longer talking about, midsummer. That's my only gripe on it. As long as we're not talking about this 2 months from now, I don't mind it. I don't mind you getting these teachable moments out the way early while you're still winning games, by the way, not having this happen late in the season, postseason, that we're suddenly seeing this slump from any of these guys.
Yeah, Don Gregg says, get that Sixers mojo out of here, Renee, but good comparison.
I'm sorry, but I mean,
MBD says Castellanos is the Tobias Harris of right fielders.
Oh, no.
Well, Tobias had really good points, too, in his Sixers tenure. And Nick, to the point of Darth Pooh and Greg MC, Nick was tremendous last year. He was an all-star. And he was Blastianos in the playoffs until a point. So the Nick discourse is very similar to the Tobias discourse. Now, Tobias, unfortunately, at the end was borderline unplayable. Let's hope that Nick isn't at that point, because Tobias did give you some good basketball at times, and so did Nick. To me, the biggest downer so far on the year has been Whit Merrifield. He just does not hit the ball hard anymore. It's kind of a bummer. So, look, we're nitpicking at a few select things that need some improvement. And, it is what it is. And, if Johan Rojas starts trusting his speed and, he locks in on some defense a little bit, things are going to be fine here. So we'll see.
Yeah. And I know there were some talks. I know there were some talks about some possible names out there. Ellie De La Cruz was, of course, one of them that was brought up.
He's pretty good.
But also some very good. Some other guys that are, possibly on the radar that the Phillies could look to acquire, or that our friends in the chat are talking about bringing in. And it was mentioned
Mason Miller probably isn't going to happen.
Johan Duran. Let me just throw out
Johan
there,
Duran's
Twiggy,
not going anywhere.
I know
They were
these
talking
guys
about his
pretty
entrance.
well.
Have you? Oh,
I know
damn
these
it,
guys.
Miller.
I know Duran and O'Neal pretty well with how they've been playing this season, as I've been following along with them closely in fantasy baseball on a team.
Mhm.
I won't say whose team they're on, but they're on a team that I've been following very closely. So yeah, it's some great entrance music, some great walkout songs, I should say.
His entrance is very cool. Yeah. Mason Miller is obviously going to become the number one want and desire of every Phillies fan here. The problem with him is with so much control left for the Athletics, every playoff team is going to want a piece of Mason Miller, and the cost is going to become very, very high. And I don't really – right now I feel pretty good about the bullpen. We're getting out of here, so we don't have to expand on this, but the bullpen, every playoff team, regardless of how good your bullpen is, always wants to add a piece to the bullpen. It's just smart playoff baseball. But I don't know yet if the Phillies are at a point where you need to go overpay for a Mason Miller. I understand the control is very appealing to teams, but I don't know if it's a fit yet to overpay. If he becomes a piece where you can steal him from the Athletics, then hell yeah. And maybe ALLCITY from the Cardinals. But it's not like the bullpen is deprived of talent. You know what I mean? So we'll see. There's very few holes on this team that need filling. So they'll obviously use the trade deadline to do that because they're on the doorstep of competing for another World Series. So things are good. Phillies win another one. Weekend series. You got Christopher Sanchez tomorrow, Aaron Nola on Sunday. And Don Gregg gives you credit, Renee. You made it almost 45 minutes before mentioning your fantasy team.
It's not my fault, though. You guys always bring up my team. I literally was.
No, we don't. We bring up players in baseball.
My team is, and they're all my team. My team, I wasn't going to bring anything up because we're losing currently this week. But you guys keep bringing up my players. So, I mean, I just have to talk about my, I have
it is possible to hear about your players and not mention them. People do that. Like me and Tyler.
Well, let me mention Matt Strahm as we wrap up. Yeah.
He's really good. He's been really, really good.
We did see the stat that his streak of 17 consecutive scoreless outings is the longest by a Phillies pitcher since 2017 when Hobie Milner went 21 straight. He has actually been perfect out of the bullpen. We keep talking about how many streaks this team is on dating back to that Braves series and even the Red series, those first two series that they lost, and the only two series that they've lost so far, while Strahm has been perfect since that first game. Been dominant. His four-seam fastball and his slider has been great. And in his last 17 appearances, to pitch 17 and 2/3 innings and give up one walk, have 28 strikeouts, and 0 earned runs in those last 17 appearances, also made him the first to do it since Luis Garcia when Luis did it in 2017. So just more records for you guys. And he is on my fantasy team now.
Jesus. All right. On that note, I was going to talk about Luis from last night, but not anymore. We're going to leave the show on that sour note.
I'm so sorry. No, we can't end like that. Is that a sour note?
No, yeah, I think we're going to end on that sour note.
Oh,
Thanks.
no.
The
Phillies
Phillies went out.
Losing?
Is it official?
Well, I didn't look at the score.
Let's take a look. Currently, let me see.
They
are still 3-1. They are down to Atlanta, or they are down to San Diego in the bottom of the 8th, 2 outs. So hopefully the Braves lose. I wish them the worst in life. And we will hopefully gain another game on them, as the Phillies currently, as is before the Braves loss, I believe are still 3 games up. Hopefully that's 4 tomorrow morning. And the Phillies should be in good shape this weekend. We will be back on Monday at 11 a.m. Things are good in Phillies land, people. Enjoy it. This team is fun to watch. Now, Sunday morning, we have baseball.
Yes. But we have a lot
download
we have a lot
I have to download my Roku app. Do you have Roku downloaded? Are you ready?
I have Roku.
Okay, I need to get on it.
There's the app. There's like the Roku Fire Stick type thing. There's a lot of Roku options. It's free. It's great. So we can start getting some Sunday baseball. And now we can start watching all day. Because listen, when you see these games happening, they're all happening right now. As you mentioned, the Padres, Braves, yes, go Padres. Angels beating the Rangers right now, bottom of the sixth, 7-1. The Brewers, close game against the Astros, 4-5 that the Brewers are losing, bottom of the sixth. So yeah, it's gonna be a little early, but it's gonna be exciting.
I'm loving it. Breakfast and coffee and the Phils on Sunday. Christopher Sanchez tomorrow, Aaron Nola on Sunday. Looking forward to it. We'll be back Monday at 11 a.m. Thanks to John Foley for joining us. Thanks to Tyler Zulli for producing behind the scenes. For Renee Washington, I'm Jamie Lynch. Phillies are really good.
Tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow. Jetro lot, hanging out with our friends at Cavs Catering and Ollie Pop. It's going to be awesome. If you're in the area, pop on by. I think we're sitting up in the 400 level somewhere. So if you see us at the stadium, please say hello. It's going to be a good time. And if you ever want to consider being a diehard with us here at PHLY, I promise you we will do our damn best to make sure you get every penny of value out of your membership here with us at PHLY, including fun events like tomorrow night with the tailgate and the game and the hang. And thanks to our friends at Ollie Pop for presenting that. Really looking forward to meeting some of you tomorrow night. So have a great weekend, everybody. I think the rain is avoiding us now. So stay dry. Go Phils. We'll see you on Monday.
We all silly like the mayor.